Hello and welcome to Gorilla and the Geek, the podcast for sweaty nerds by sweaty nerds. My name is Kyle from Geeks Weekly, and I'm joined, as always, by my good pal, John the Ginger Gorilla. John, how you doing today?
Kyle, I am doing wonderful. I do feel kind of tired today, but not in the sense of not sleeping well, more in the sense of I think I'm nerd drained. I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
I've drained my nerdiness over the last week. Just to catch people up, Kyle and I are big Fortnite fans, right? Been playing for a very long time, and the new Fortnite season came out this week, which is a lot of fun. Um, And then we had the most. How would you even describe what the Snyder cut has been?
gluttonous fun.
Yeah, no, but before that, like the build up to it, like controversial, or I don't. I feel like controversial is not the right word. Um,
You could say highly sought after or highly anticipated.
there you go. Highly sought after, highly anticipated Snyder cut that came out and was just surprisingly like just amazing. Like I expected it to be good by the time that it was coming out and by the time I was watching it, and then it just like blew me away. I don't know. And then we have what we're talking about today. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it was a perfect, like, as you would say, chef's kiss to the end of Nerd Week. And I need to mentally prepare for next week with Invincible and more Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty thankful with where we're at right now in terms of content. It is a little bit overwhelming, but after what happened last year with the world essentially stopping in terms of entertainment, it was really nice to just kind of get back to being excited about things and them delivering.
Mm-hmm.
So far this year, with Superman and Lois, the Snyder Cut,
WandaVision.
WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the newest season of Fortnite, I'm at a good 5 for 5 right now in terms of at minimum enjoying what I'm getting, and
Mm-hmm.
I we couldn't be luckier in terms of the turnaround from last year of getting nothing.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But I wonder if it was almost like in a sense, a good thing for Marvel products of having that forced break of
Maybe
almost wanting, like, it's like a distance make the heart grow fonder. Like,
it's very possible, and it's what's really interesting to me is that they changed the order of what was going to release. The fact
hmm
that they still haven't put out Black Widow,
yeah,
and they chose to not put this show out first, which is what originally was supposed to happen. I find that pretty interesting. I'm wondering if there were any rewrites throughout last year
mm,
because I've done some research,
mm,
and I'm wondering if they wanted to lean into more modern issues with the show. I'm not
yeah,
sure. That's just me guessing and speculating as to why they changed the release order.
hmm
Because if you're going to start off the MCU TV verse, if you will, changing what your lead is pretty significant, I would say.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I wonder.
definitely. And I mean, from not knowing how it would be the other way, um, and not fully seeing Falcon and Winter Soldiers yet, I'm not mad that they changed it. Like, it doesn't feel
Yeah,
weird
me
that they
neither.
started with WandaVision. Because WandaVision feels like such a good appetizer now. It made me excited about more of the shows in this universe. Because like when they first announced the lineup of Marvel shows, I don't even feel right calling them TV shows anymore. I have to stop myself every time because I don't think we need TV anymore. Like that word in the idea of shows. So just shows. So the Marvel shows, I was only truly excited from the jump about one, and that's Loki. Like
Okay.
that one initially, I was like, "Oh, that hooks my attention perfectly." Boom, I'm excited about that. And then everything else, I knew I'd enjoy and be excited for when they'd come out because just comic booky nerdy stuff. So I was like, I'm still excited, but that one was like, I can't wait for that one, and I still can't wait for that one. Um, but now I'm like excited for every episode of all of them. Like, and I think WandaVision was the good build up because it was the suspenseful build up throughout the season. Where getting into the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I don't think that's where the show's gonna be, of like a suspense of like, oh, what's gonna happen next. I think it's gonna be more of a show that you kind of could feel a vibe of what's going on. And it's just gonna be a good laid out show with it. I think we're gonna get more amazing character arcs, which I'm excited.
That's I'm glad you said that because that's the thing. Episode one, they needed to do for me personally. I like the characters of Bucky and Sam,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't been hooked onto them. And that's because they've been really, really supporting characters in their films.
Yeah.
But I think as soon as this episode ends, I'm invested in both of their plights because there's a lot at stake with these, not world ending stakes, which is what I'm a fan of right now, not having to do that, but high stakes for them as people, emotionally, mentally, and that stuff matters too.
What Marvel's doing is super impressive. They did it with Wanda. They're humanizing these characters, right?
Yeah.
They're making them feel real. Like this is the real world. They have emotions. They have these things that weigh on them, and you see that in the very first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's like what this episode is about. Is that just because they're heroes, their life isn't all peaches and cream or whatever they're saying. They they're humans, and they feel, and they might be superhumans. They might, right? I mean, Falcon, I guess, is more of just a soldier with cool tech. But I mean, Bucky, he's more of a superhuman-esque sense. So like he still feels though, right? And he has a lot that's weighing on his mind.
Yeah, and I mean, two series in a row, one of the major themes is how trauma affects us.
Mm-hmm.
Wanda had an extremely traumatic life. And I mean, to say that Bucky had a traumatic life would be kind of understating it. It's a lot of heavy stuff, and in a franchise that kind of lends itself more to lightheartedness, with a splash of seriousness here and there. I got to commend them for going with trauma as being such a heavy theme throughout the first couple of ventures into the series world. And with that, let's get into episode one, shall we?
100%. Let's do it.
So the show starts off. Sam is looking at Cap's shield. He's putting a suit on. And then we get kind of a prologue to what happened before that, with a, in my opinion, extremely entertaining air-based fight sequence, which we've seen Sam do this type of stuff before, but never solo.
Yeah.
And just doing his thing and kicking butt the whole time. He takes down multiple planes. We see him use Red Wing. It's all extremely fun.
I got a question.
And I loved it.
Who's running Stark right now, Industries? Is it
I'd imagine Pepper.
Pepper? I was gonna say, why was I about to say Poppins? I'm just making up my own word here.
Well, no, her name is Pepper Potts.
Pepper Potts. That's why I've combined it. Pepper Poppins Potts. Sounds so posh. Yeah, that's what I assumed. Okay, because like that's new Stark tech that he got. Technically, for his suit, and I'm like, who's running Stark Industries right now? That's making Stark tech. Like, what is going on? Because like the brain genius behind everything isn't there anymore. So like, I wonder like who they have working for him. And
I wonder if Happy's involved too.
Yeah. I mean, he's.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in the show.
You know, he's busy courting what's her name?
Aunt May, yeah.
Aunt May, yeah. And just making sure.
Which I love that, by the way.
And what? So this is still before Spider-Man: Homecoming, right? Or Spider-Man: Far From Home.
I'm not sure. How many months did they say it's been?
Bruh, I'm lost in the sequence. I'm lost in the sequence house.
I want to say it's been 5 months, but I could be entirely wrong.
All right. You know what? I guess we'll find out as we go on, or we could just look it up. But
I think
looking it up isn't as fun.
Rhodey said it though. That's the thing. I'm not remember. I should have wrote it down. Here, I'm gonna Google it. You keep talking.
All right. So, with that, I wonder like if he's still like. I'm excited to see how he handles the fact that. Spoiler alert for Spider-Man: Far From Home. That in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. that like Spider-Man's identity is out there now. Like I feel like in one of these shows we're gonna see that as a news headline. Like
Oh, you think?
we have to. Like if the world's, I mean, you got to make everything feel connected. That would be one thing
That's
to make it
true.
feel connected. There's gonna be repercussive things that come off of this. So I wonder if we're gonna see that in one of these shows. I mean, the Loki one I don't think we'll see as much because I don't think Loki is gonna. How much is he gonna be on Earth?
Well, I don't know if he's in our timeline or in
That
this current
that
timeline.
exactly. So who knows
Um,
what happens?
but I will say that it said a couple months, so who knows how many? It's
Yeah,
under a year. I think that'd be cool though to see them kind of,
be like that little mesh.
yeah, just at least address that going on. And you know, it, it's funny. I find myself both wanting and not wanting them to keep the connectivity of this universe within each uh episode or within each series slash movie,
Hmm.
because sometimes I do really like the contained story. Like I like
Yeah,
that not every one was we said it last podcast. I like that not everyone was put into WandaVision, you know?
yeah. I think it would be nice just to do like nods towards other things, right? Like
Yeah, nods are
you
cool.
don't have to fully connect their storylines and whatnot, or have like the fact that WandaVision happened. You don't have to have that fully reverberate into something else that it doesn't necessarily need to be in, right? But a nod towards it of like maybe like you see it on a news thing or on a newspaper or just something like that, or a tweet. Maybe someone's
Yeah, yeah,
phone.
some social
And
media
there's like a
stuff.
tweet. Yeah, I think that would be funny and like just like like Easter egg type stuff. I mean, it makes it exciting to look for those things.
Yeah. How'd you feel about GSP being back?
Ah, bro, I was so excited. I saw him and I was like, yeah. And I think we're gonna get more of him because he's not dead. So I think he's just gonna be a recurring baddie. Which shout out one of the MMA goats. Like, yeah, you love to see them be able to do things after their careers, especially GSP with I mean, he had such a great career and now he's turned it into like an entertainment thing. So it's exciting to see someone, especially like a face that you recognize. I'm like, oh
He
yeah.
he's done a pretty good job so far, so I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to seeing him
And I
more.
mean, he's not like a role where it's like he's heavy acting, so it's perfect. It's just that do some cool fight sequence stuff, um, be French Canadian, and keep it going.
Well, that's what helps is that his character is, I believe, French.
French, yeah.
So next we get a pretty interesting sequence.
Hmm.
We get to see Bucky Barnes, what's come of him. He's in therapy. He is trying to make amends with what he's done in his past, including I don't know about apologizing, but attempting to reconcile with people he's hurt in the past.
Hmm.
He has given up his life as like an assassin, and he is seemingly going through a lot of trauma slash PTSD,
Yeah.
and including now. Here's something I don't yet know. I feel like we should have asked Sean before recording. Yuri,
Hmm.
is that an old friend or is that someone he became friends with because of what he did?
So is Yuri the old man? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot of connection here, and once again, big spoilers. Yuri, so we see the nightmare sequence of his flashback to his one mission where he goes in and he kills
Yeah.
the people, and then this starts off with a kid saying goodbye to like his friends. He's like, I'm just gonna head back to my room, and then he's a witness to what the Winter Soldier does, and
Yeah.
then he kills him. Um, I think he becomes friends. He becomes friends with Yuri after,
You think?
and I don't know if it's on purpose. 100% after everything, because when he goes to Yuri, obviously there's the feeling of like, oh, he needs to apologize for something. You definitely see that that was Yuri's son.
Well, no, that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know for
So
sure.
I think he probably went to go say he apologizes to him or something, and then he just felt the connection with the older guy, or he felt bad and he was afraid to say it. But I'm also curious of like they're neighbors, right? So maybe he moved in and then realized that this is someone he hurt
Oh God,
just by
the
happenstance or
coincidence.
yeah,
Jeez.
which would be horrible. But I mean, it is this. These things happen.
I wonder if it's part of his therapy that he has to try and, if it was to try and reconcile with this guy and admit to
Hmm.
him that he killed his son,
Yeah.
but in the process, Bucky's actually 100 something years old, 102 or
Oh,
106.
so he connects with them on like
So he
more of a friend.
connects with him and is just like, oh, now I can't do it because this guy's my friend,
Yeah.
and that's what I could see happening. I i believe 100% that he's going to tell him by the end of the show.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It has to. I'm hoping it takes us by surprise, and the guy's like, it's I know or something. I don't know. Maybe like so. Here's my little prediction. You right? Maybe something happens within the apartment building where like Bucky's like defending himself or whatever, and he sees and he's like, "What is all this? Like, how are you know how to fight or something?" Like, just in shock, and then he admits, and he's like, and then it kind of, I don't know. He understands. He more understands of what happens, and
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's more of a redemption thing and not that the
yeah,
guy like will never talk to Bucky again, because that's just, we've seen Bucky go through enough bad stuff. Let's
yeah. We
have some
don't need
nice
anymore.
things. And I hope he gets that girl to be his girlfriend.
Yeah,
Nice things. Let's get nice things for
I
Bucky.
liked the little jokes they slid into, like him bringing the flowers and the girl being like, "That's such like an old school thing," and he was like, "Well, and I'm 106," and
Yeah,
it's
right.
just like he's not lying. Just wait till you find out.
And we already get the seeds sown of he and Sam, at least Sam is attempting to be in communication with them and keep in touch.
Hmm.
Because those two are always going to be intertwined with their relationship with Cap, probably Cap's two best friends. Um, so I like where this is going with Bucky a lot. That was
Hmm.
probably seeing him once I realized that he had murdered his friend's son. That's when I got invested in where the show was going for the future.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they're willing to take little dabble and putting their toes in these darker waters
yeah,
of serious tones, and I like that because it's not like they're just making these Marvel superhero products and going like, these are kids things. Oh, just action kid things. Which we saw some dark stuff in WandaVision. So
yeah.
it's cool that we're getting more of those dark tones that are more adult like focused tones. Um so that's very I like it. It makes it more serious. It makes it um seem like realistic worlds like that you do things and they have dark repercussions sometimes and you have to deal with them and learn to live with them and you see these things pop up and they're tackling big things.
And speaking of tackling big things, up next we get to see some more of Sam's story.
Hmm.
And Sam's story has a lot of racial under and overtones.
Yeah.
Number one, we get to see some more of Sam's, actually, not some more, some of Sam's family in general. We get to
Hmm.
see his sister, his, I think they were both boys,
Nephews.
so two
Yeah,
nephews.
two nephews.
We get to see that Sam can cook. That was some nice yellow, orangish food. And I don't know if you know this about me, John. Any type of meats that are colored that, I personally believe will be delicious. So I would love to try that, Sam, if you're out there. And I'm really liking the introduction to some superheroes' family members,
Yeah.
because I've always wondered what the heck is that like, having a
Yeah.
famous superhero as a relative. That's
Hmm.
so odd.
And you immediately get that perspective from his sister of like, I was here holding down the fort while you were out, playing. Like she almost made it seem like playing like hero.
Which is,
Like,
it's a worse jab because he's not a primary Avenger. So it's
hmm
like, oh man,
it's
that's foul.
it's one of those things that I just was listening to a podcast and I think it was talking to an MMA fighter and they were saying how like their kids were like talking to the neighbors in the yard behind them. And they're like, "We know your dad is. Your dad's so cool." Blah blah. And the kid was like, "No, he's not." Like, where everyone else would be afraid of this person, this guy who's like a who could kick your beat you up and whatnot. His kids are just like, "It's just my dad. He's like nothing." Like, So it's cool the same way, like the same things kind of shine light through with their superhero, and you see people be schmitten with him when they're at the bank, and the guy's like, "You, do I know you?" And then he's like, "Yeah." It's so cheesy, but I loved it. And like these people are smitten by him, but his sister's like, "You're my brother, and you weren't here. Like you're out saving people, but when your family needed help in saving, you weren't. You could feel like some resentment."
And that's the thing. And plus, Sam got snapped away, right? In the blip.
I believe so, yeah, because that's why he's having trouble getting that loan because he doesn't have credit for 5 years. He didn't have anything.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the fact that he has to take out a loan, we'll get to that in a second. Um, but yeah, so we get some of that family tension. It's not all peachy keen. Sam promises that his duty to his planet, not just country, his planet,
Yeah.
will help them financially.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I really like that there's jurisdictions to what Sam can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then I'm wondering, like, is he getting paid for this?
So
He's not.
that's the thing. That's the thing. He is, and that was I only know this because once again, shout out heavy spoilers. Um, he talked about how Sam mentions he doesn't really have financials. That's why they need the loan. He wasn't really given all this money, especially with 5 years off. He hasn't been paid in 5 years, right? Technically. So he actually had to go back into the Air Force. He's working as the Falcon, but for the Air Force. I believe
Oh,
that's what people are saying and thinking.
that's
If anyone's
dark.
watching this and they need to correct me, go correct me. But that's why he's working. So that's why the jurisdictions are there. He's not just a
Oh,
freelance superhero. He had to go back to work because when you first meet him, he wasn't working anymore. He was running that like I think it was like a veterans group to like talk, and that's where Cap was going to, and that's how Cap met him.
wow.
So he had to go back to
Wow.
work because he didn't have money. Like so it's and that's the thing, right? And we've dabbled with the conversation a little bit of the racial things that are gonna be coming up, but the Disney's very good. They've done a good job of putting these adult tones and these adult things that if we were like maybe early teenagers and we were just watching this, we would notice the cool superhero stuff. I don't think we would get the full story of like these behind the scenes and picking up these like he's a veteran, he wasn't really paid. Things like these little tones that they're kind of like sewing in there. And maybe they don't even mean to do this, but these are the vibes you're getting from it.
I believe they fully do mean to do
Yeah,
it.
I'm assuming they do,
The
but
writer seems that way
yeah.
from his
So,
comments.
and to be honest, that's ballsy. I mean, it's ballsy, and I like it because of the fact that it's making these a genre that we've heard people say and talk crap about of this genre is just bubblegum entertainment, and it's like no, now this genre is more than that. This genre is storytelling. This genre is being used to put messages out there. And I think that's cool to see. Like, think about just Marvel themselves, what they've been able to do, where they've turned it from almost bubblegum entertainment from like maybe the first Iron Man to like now they're able to tell these deep stories or attempt to tell these deep stories. And I think it's crazy what they've been able to do with it.
And then we get the biggest portion of the show where it's like, oh, we're really stepping into some real life stuff here
Mm-hmm.
with the bank loan scene.
Yeah.
Now, part of me wasn't crazy about the humor involved just because it wasn't really landing for me
Yeah,
that
it felt,
much.
and I think because it felt so cringe, because it was like just such a cringe
Very cringe,
situation.
yeah.
Because it's one of those situations you hear about where you hear a celebrity talk about how like
Like they'll go to the bathroom and while they're pissing, a guy's like, "Hey, can I get an autograph?" And it's like,
yeah,
"Dude,
or like someone
please."
comes to take a picture with them and then they see one of the person's friends like googling who they are and then they come up and they're like I've been such a big fan like and it's like dude no you haven't. I heard Tim the Tatman go, he's like, I'm gonna start asking people questions, and if they get the question right, then they can get the picture. He's like, I'm gonna be like, hey, what's the name of my penguin on my stream? And like, if you know that, then you're a Tim fan. If you don't, then like, you're like, it's you're just
What's
doing
its
this
name?
for Kevin, Kevin the
Okay.
penguin. Um,
There we
just I'm a Tim fan. But like I was like, that's kind of funny, and that's actually, I would like if I ever if I ever like make it somewhere where like people like follow me, I want to have questions like that where it's like, if you can answer this question, we're getting a picture, because then I know stuff about me and you follow along. It's just funny.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but you see that in here, and I think that was part of it, of why it felt so, like, I don't know if it necessarily wasn't hitting, but it was just like, oh, this is so cringe. And because his
Yeah.
sister's sitting there like, really, like, this is during a serious thing, this is what's happening.
Well, it kind of backfired on him because
Yeah.
Sam is trying to use the fact that he is the Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
kind of help out with their financials because he's aware that it probably won't go as well if he's not the Falcon. And even then, it doesn't go well. And it is a mirroring theme of how the system is rigged, the correct term. I don't know about rigged, but how the system seems to favor less with different racial groups.
Yeah.
And the issue of racism towards Black folks seems to be something that we'll be addressing in more ways than one, not just the finances.
Mm-hmm.
Because then at the end, and this to me was the one where I was like, oh, wait, are we actually going to go into race here?
Mm-hmm.
Was them casting a new Captain America, and it's not Sam, it's a white guy.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, because I noticed it in the bank scene, obviously. That was very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But with the new Cap scene, I was like, holy crap, that's insulting.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of this guy, who could do it better than this jabron. Who is
Yeah.
this? You didn't even ask him, and that's the one who Cap gave the, like, that is, oof.
Yeah.
I got so mad for him,
And
and
like
even his
they
sister
cut
who
to
had
him.
tension with him.
And that's the thing, like, his sister is like, you need to see this, and like she
She
knows
knew.
how defeated he's gonna be, how just her it's gonna become. And I mean, it might be an obvious prediction, but I think that's what's gonna bring him and Bucky together, is the
I
fact that
think
they
so too.
gave away their friend's shield and in position to just some jabron. For at this point, just some jabron.
And
I know.
they purposefully made him look goofy, right?
Well, in the comics, you should see his comic portrayal.
Oh
It's
God.
very like a weird chiseled chin, like, yeah, it looks so strange. But in the comics, this Cap, like the original Cap stood for like one type of American like view of like pride and justice and patriotism, independence, yeah. Where this Cap is like the other of like the other side of America, of just like destroying, conquering, like the brute of America, like that people aren't so happy with. That's what in the comic, that's what this Cap represents.
Mm,
And so they're touching a lot of things here.
I know.
Disney's like, we're doing it all. And this is gonna be, and that's why like this show is gonna be it's gonna be a show.
I mean, even you had just touched on it. That has to piss Sam off too. The fact that this is
Mm-hmm.
a Captain America who is now being owned by the government, like a trademark or a brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who Steve Rogers is or
But given
was.
that's how Cap started out, so I'm not
Yes.
completely surprised that the government is like, this is like, if they tried to do it with Iron Man and the Iron Man suit, I think it would be a lot more like what's going on here. But it kind of makes sense that they're like, we own Captain America because we do. So it's very interesting, and I'm excited to see this season and how they get it back. So yeah, I'm excited
Honestly,
for that. It's gonna be,
I hope Sam just beats the crap out of this Captain America and just straight up steals the shield.
yeah, that'd be
Honestly.
sick. Yeah. Well, okay, so on IMDb, I saw a picture of Sam with his two hands on the shield, almost looking like he's pulling, but he's like dressed in like plain clothes, so it's interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
So I wonder maybe if I just misinterpreted the picture wrongly, and maybe he was like doing something else with the shield, and maybe I just missed it from this episode. Maybe it was from this episode. I don't know. So that's gonna be maybe he does literally just try to grab the shield back. Also, does this guy have super strength? Like, what makes him qualified?
That's
Like, did
another
they test
question,
him?
right?
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I don't know why they selected him. Maybe because he's a sheep.
Yeah,
They're
that
like,
was my first
this will
thought.
go.
Like, is this literally just a symbol? Like, is he just a, like what Captain America originally was? Is he just gonna go tour around with the shield? Like, that's before I watched the heavy spoilers video and I knew that this is a character in there. I was like, oh, are they just using him as a symbol at this point? Like, what's the thing there?
Yeah, and it's I just can't tell what the I don't know yet what the villainous plot is here, like with the
Hmm.
guys with the mask. I'm
Yeah.
aware that it's the either the same character or a similar group to who was behind the Civil War uh,
Mm.
situation, the conflict
Yeah.
there.
So, another thing in the comic, that group is one character in the comic, and his
Oh,
goal is to like make the world without borders, so people could truly be free. Um,
well,
so like they could go, you could travel wherever you want, and blah blah blah. There's no borders, because he
okay,
believes if there's borders, then there's fascism type thing.
okay,
Which once again, it's a very interesting concept. So I like that Marvel's taking these
it's intense.
where you could see people get on that side, like of yeah, there shouldn't be borders, like so it's like the Killmonger character was relatable, and this is
Yeah.
another thing that people could be like, well, yeah, I mean this group has a point, like type of
So
deal.
you saying that makes me very excited because Killmonger, and for people who don't know, I think he is, for me personally, a top three villain in any superhero visual franchise ever.
Hmm.
I have him up there, same tier as Joker from The Dark Knight and Thanos. For me, those are like my big three.
Yeah.
I if if this group is that cool as
Hmm.
Killmonger, although I mean Michael B. Jordan is just cool, so that just
Yeah.
helps with it
I
too.
don't, I don't
It's
think the
hard.
group. I don't think the group. I think it will be a good villain in this group. I don't think they're gonna reach those levels. I don't anticipate it, or nor am I getting on the hype train that they will.
No, no, no. But like
Um,
just having because you also look at those three villains and they
mhm.
had goals and ideals based in like well, they kind of have like somewhat of a point.
Yeah, they were still
So
trying to make. They were
they were
trying.
they had a point to prove. And they
Yeah, and
didn't see themselves as the bad guys necessarily.
mhm.
Although Joker, there's some implications of
Joker's
like
the
if you
only
want to
one.
watch the word. But
Joker's the
he,
darkest. I mean,
yeah, it's the darkest. But he wanted to prove that people. His thing was he wanted to prove that people can be corrupted.
mm,
Which is not relatable, but it's like, man, that's a
that's
goal, and you know.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, man.
Hmm.
I'm and another thing, I like the weekly release again because there's anticipation. We get to digest what we saw this week. We get to watch all these videos, like a heavy spoilers video. We get to listen
Hmm.
to Gorilla and the Geeks about it, and just talk amongst our friends. We have another thing where it's like, "Hey, did you watch yet? I'm watching right now. All right, I'll wait. All right, I finished. You finished? Yeah, let's talk. Boom.
It's the new age of event television, and I mean, it might not be event as in like when people were going to bars to watch Game of Thrones episodes. It might not be at that level yet. I could only hope that things go to that big. That'd be amazing. I like
Yeah,
pop culture hype. But in our nerdy, sweaty world, it is that like all of our friends were so excited for these episodes. We're all like, can't wait to watch them in the morning. When are you watching them throughout the day when you guys have time, so on and so forth. So I love it. And we've given credit. I know, and I'm so happy with how Disney's handling this Marvel universe. Um, but once again, it's still hitting. It's still hitting, and every time it hits more, it's just another nail in the coffin of like trust Disney, trust them house. Which I mean, obviously, in other areas they may have taken some missteps or whatnot. And maybe this is their time where they could fix those things. culturally.
One last thing I have on the show.
Yeah.
This is not the first time the government has tried to have their superhero.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to own Iron Man. They tried to own Cap.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to own Rhodey as War Machine with the rebrand in the third movie where he was there was a name for who he was, like the Iron Patriot or something,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it always goes bad. And then they
Mm-hmm.
tried to separate the team and have them owned by the government and watched by the government. It went bad. I I hope this is one of those final nail in the coffin moments where I, I kind of hope Sam exposes them, like
Yeah.
on national television. That would be sick.
That would be, yeah. It'd be a really like oh moment type thing.
Would it be cooler if it was Bucky though? Because Bucky, most of the world doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, you're right.
Could
But
that
it
be a
might,
coming out
but
party?
it could, but it might also, if it is Sam, that might be how he validates that fact that the shield belongs to him in the public eye.
True.
So then it would play into that whole thing of how he ends up with the shield. Assuming
Very true.
I mean, obviously, I'm assuming that's the role they're gonna play. It makes sense that he better. I mean, he
Yeah.
better end up with the shield by the end of this.
Oh, if
Uh,
Sam doesn't end up with the shield, I will not. I wouldn't understand that at all because
yeah,
he's the one who got that
yeah,
moment at the end of Endgame made me sob.
yeah.
I mean, I was like a baby, and to completely undo that
Would
would be
be like,
criminal.
yeah, it would be like, what are you doing?
And even him giving back the shield at first, I was unsure about it, but
It
once you realize what that implies for his character, not believing that he's worthy, you
it
get it.
also kind of seemed forced, in my opinion. Like he
Him
didn't
getting
really
the shield,
seem. No, him giving the shield to the government. It seemed like the
it
government
did.
was not forced by like writer things. I mean, forced by like the government being like,
No,
it
yeah.
belongs to us. Either we're gonna come get it, or
Oh, you
like,
think they?
because it
Oh,
seemed like they're when they said like, oh, you're doing the right thing, and he kind of like said yeah, but it didn't seem like yeah as in like meant it. Like it was
maybe.
like yeah, I know. I like reluctant, yeah. So it seemed like maybe he didn't want to be capped, but he didn't feel like they deserved the shield to be on display, or
Wow.
from what they were saying. And then they immediately stab him in the back. Good old
That's
government.
it's entirely possible. But yeah, man, I'm very excited for what this show has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I again, I'm glad we didn't get like a bulk of episodes at first. It was just this first one,
Yeah.
and next pod we'll have 2 episodes to talk about. And is there anything else, John, that you wanted to discuss with this episode before we get
Um,
out of here?
Not at all. I do like it was a little longer than the WandaVisions that we were getting. I enjoyed the length. It wasn't too long, but it was longer. And like you said, yeah, next episode we'll be talking about the two. Um, and I'm excited. It's so nice to be just having this, like as we've said, the Marvel content back, and we're getting so much of it still. We have so much to look forward to. As soon as this ends, we get the Loki, and it's exciting that it's good. Like, because if like one of these, like if it started out bad, we wouldn't be excited necessarily or this hyped on it.
Probably wouldn't be doing pods on them either.
Yeah, it would probably be a series pod, not a going through the episodes pods.
Yeah. Although I'm enjoying this a lot,
Yeah,
which is
me
why we're
too.
doing it.
And it's just nice. It's nice to feel that nerdiness come out again, and it feels like almost it's almost I can't think of the word, but like it feels like life's getting back to normal after this crazy year in quarantine. We're getting back to this almost movie-esque world that we loved so much beforehand. And so
Yeah.
that makes me really excited. But yeah, but with that, solid job on the first episode. Cannot wait to see where things go. Next podcast will be on episode 2 and 3. And I can't wait to talk. I already know I can't wait.
Before we leave,
Yes.
one final question, and maybe we can do this every pod.
Mm-hmm.
What coming up thing within the next 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
are you looking forward to seeing most?
You
Is
mean
there
within
anything in particular?
you mean within this episode and within the show or just in general?
In general.
Oh, Invincible, bro. I'm so excited for Invincible. I cannot wait. Because a while back when I was reading more comics, Sean made me, he was like, you need to read these comics. You need to. So I read the comics.
Oh, you read them?
I don't know if I read all of them. I can't remember fully if I read all of them. Because at that time I was reading like a lot of comics. So this was just one of many. And the storyline's so good. And then seeing it as like an animated series and knowing about like how like we're getting how many episodes to start?
3, I think.
3. Like that's exciting. It's like gonna hook and it's gonna be so much fun. Like, oh god, I love the nerdy content, superhero content. It's gonna be great. And the storyline in that is good. It's good. What about you?
Okay. I'm excited for that as well. That's what I'm realistically most excited for.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is one thing. One thing that I refuse to be burned by again. I refuse it. So, ladies and gentlemen, on March 31st, I believe, we will be getting Godzilla versus Kong. Here's the thing, John.
God, I'm not ready for that.
Here's the thing. The first ever, no, the second ever movie I gave a bad score on my channel was a Netflix movie adaptation of the popular Japanese anime / manga series Death Note.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back then, before I revamped my ratings, I gave it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it might get a 2. There's a possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, the director of that is directing Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm so nervous. And look, nothing against the guy, but there's one thing to, oh man, it's one thing to try and succeed at something.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of like big ideas in that movie. But wow, was it rough. And Godzilla, King of Monsters, which we saw together, I believe.
Yeah.
Was one of my most anticipated movies of that year, and it was a bit of a stoinker. So I am going into it 0 expectations.
Yeah, I know. I'm anticipating it not being good. So if it's
But,
even
like,
decent, then I'm like, yeah.
Dude, it's Godzilla versus. This should be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just shocked at the choice of directors. Now, if this guy manages to make this movie fun, it doesn't have to be like an amazing Lord of the Rings level epic. If it's fun,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's dumb and fun,
Yeah.
kudos, full-on redemption arc for this director. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to like crap on him or whatever. I want him to do a good job with this so bad.
We're gonna mention if this is good.
No, if it's good, I'm going to shout him out on the pod next time. For sure. Because he will have earned it. Because that's full redemption. Going from, woo, that's the most disappointing. If you go back, don't watch it because it's back when like my setup was awful and my hair was wild. If you go back and watch the review of that, I'm like legit sad. Someone commented, they're like, dude, I felt bad for you. And I was like, yeah, man, I didn't want this to be bad. I didn't want to review this poorly. And I'm like trying to hold back how much I didn't like it, but like my face is showing it. So I'm hoping that this is a full-on redemption arc for him. And you know what? That's my answer. That's what I'm looking forward to most. Him redeeming himself.
It works out perfectly too because March 31st is the Wednesday, and then we'll record that weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to literally give you the Kyle will come in with that energy.
That's John's date night, so that I'll be watching it that night, and I will have seen it for sure.
Yeah.
And there will be a review, even if it's not something I like.
I'm excited.
With that being said, John, where can the people find you?
As always, you can find me over at twitch.tv/gingergorillagaming. Come check out the stream. Been playing a lot of Fortnite, obviously, because it's slapping again, and it's just fun. You could catch Kyle there along with a bunch of our other friends where we talk about nerdy things. We mess around and we just generally have a good time. Sometimes we yell at each other. By sometimes, I mean I do. And then Instagram Ginger Gorilla Gaming. You could check me out there. I post in my stories a lot. The regular page is Instagram or Fortnite stuff a lot, but the stories will be. I set a workout goal for myself this year, so I keep everyone updated with that. I put things I'm excited about with movies and TV things, and then on Twitter I do that too. A lot of Twitter's mostly just me talking about things I've watched or things I enjoy. So if you're a fan of this podcast, Twitter's probably will be your favorite part of all of it. But check out everything, and then on YouTube, if you're not listening, on YouTube, Ginger Gorilla Gaming also.
I mean, John, you forgot to mention the NASCAR reviews that you do on Twitter.
There's no NASCAR review. Okay. So, background story for the people still here. I'm a big fan of F1, okay? And there's this series on Netflix, F1 Drive to Survive. And if you like reality TV and you kind of like sports, you'll love this series. I'm trying to get Kyle to watch it, but he thinks it's not his thing.
I will watch it one episode. I will eventually. I like ragging on John saying he's into NASCAR.
But the first race is next weekend, and I can't wait. I'm so excited to have it back. And Kyle, where could they find you? I'm sweating now.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Buff Charmander. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/geeksweekly. My goodness, was it an overwhelming week for me for content. A lot of stuff coming out, including Sean will be reviewing that show Invincible that John and I were discussing weekly, which we're very excited about him doing. So make sure to check that out. Check me out with my Superman and Lois reviews. I will be doubling up this week because the Snyder cut some of my time from recording last week. So I'll be doubling up 2 for 1 episode probably in one review. By the time this is up, I should have a spoiler-free and spoiler-filled reviews of the Snyder cut. So a lot of content you can see me on. And thank you very much for watching and listening, especially if you're at this point in the pod. My goodness, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you're on YouTube, leave this video a like and subscribe to John's YouTube channel. If you are on the podcast apps, whatever podcast app you listen to us on, if you could do us a favor, leave us a 5-star review. That really, really helps push us out there. Let's break those algorithms and let's secure some bags.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let your sweaties know, right? We're out here. We're proud. Okay. Kyle and I, we hid in the shadows growing up. Okay. We were afraid to tell how sweaty we were. And you know what? No longer. And you shouldn't feel that way either. So let your sweaty friends know, embrace it, and join the conversation. And until next time, peace out, everybody.
See you next time.